Welcome. Like the content. Follow along. Let's begin. Subscribe and hit the bell to never miss a story. The meeting that ended the past. Nathan arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early. The sky outside was overcast, casting a muted silver tone across the windows as he stepped inside and quietly chose a table near the large front window. He ordered a plain black coffee and sat there staring into the street, watching passers-by but not really seeing them. His fingers found their way to the silver ring he still carried on his right hand. He twisted it absently, a reflex more than a thought, something he'd done thousands of times without realizing. The ring had once symbolized promises. Now it was more like a scar he hadn't yet decided to remove. He didn't touch the coffee. It sat quietly steaming, then cooling as time trickled past. The door opened. The soft chime overhead sounded barely audible, but it was enough. Nathan didn't need to turn to know who it was. The silhouette in the reflection of the glass, her posture, her stride, was unmistakable even after all these years. Erin. She paused as their eyes met. Her lips parted slightly as if preparing herself. He gave her a nod, polite, indifferent. She walked toward him slowly, adjusting the strap of her purse like a nervous habit, and took the seat across from him without a word. For a few seconds they sat in silence. Two people who used to share a life now seemed like strangers caught in a moment neither fully owned. Erin finally broke the silence. "Thank you for coming." Nathan said nothing, just offered a slight tilt of his head. He wasn't there to comfort her. He came to listen. Erin placed her hands on the table, palms down, as if bracing herself. "I don't expect anything. Not forgiveness, not a second chance. But I needed to say some things. Things I should have said a long time ago." He nodded once. "Just barely." "Then say them." There was no warmth in his voice, but no hostility either. It was a calm neutrality. The sound of someone who had bled once and then sealed the wound shut. Erin's voice faltered at first. She hesitated between breaths, as if every sentence had to be weighed, filtered, and judged before it was allowed out. But she continued. "I made mistakes, Nathan. Terrible ones. I didn't come here to excuse them, only to explain them. You deserved that at least." Nathan's eyes drifted for a moment toward the street. A couple passed, holding hands and laughing. Life moving on, untouched by the ghosts of the past. He returned his gaze to her quietly, but with the distant weight of someone replaying scenes they'd buried long ago. "I met Simon through work," Erin said. "It started innocent, just conversation. You know, the kind of talk you have with someone when you spend hours on projects and long meetings. Nothing unusual at first." Nathan didn't flinch. He knew this story, or thought he did. "But over time," she continued, "that casual connection became something I started looking forward to. A message from him in the morning gave me a lift I hadn't felt in years. And the truth is, I didn't even know I was drifting until I was already too far gone." She paused, visibly trembling, holding a glass of water the waiter had brought earlier. Her hand shook slightly. "I felt invisible, Nathan. Like I had disappeared in our home. I'm not blaming you. I'm not saying it was your fault. Just happened slowly. Like a quiet erosion neither of us noticed until there was nothing left." Nathan shifted only slightly, his fingers still gripping the coffee cup he hadn't touched. Coffee was cold now. So were the memories she stirred. "It wasn't supposed to be physical," she continued. "But one night after a company dinner, everyone else had left. We were in the parking lot. He kissed me. It was quick, almost meaningless. But it broke the dam." Her voice cracked. "After that, I lied to you more times than I can count. I worked late when I didn't have to. I traveled for business when there was no trip. And every lie felt easier than the truth, until I couldn't even recognize the person I'd become." Nathan looked at her directly now. His gaze was steady, hard. She noticed. "I stayed with Simon for nearly a year," she whispered. "I kept telling myself I would stop, that it would end. But I didn't. Because I was addicted to what I thought I had lost. Attention, excitement, relevance. And then, Nathan finally asked, breaking his silence. She looked down. You caught us. In the house. In our bedroom. Nathan leaned back. The memory hit like a blow, but he didn't show it. He'd lived it too many times already. I'll never forget your face, she said. That mix of pain and disgust and betrayal. You didn't even scream. You just walked away. That was worse than if you had shouted. He said nothing. Just kept watching. I left that night. I knew I had to. You didn't even need to say it. And I told myself I deserved whatever came next. And I did. She detailed the weeks that followed. Crashing at a friend's place, living out of a suitcase, crying without knowing why. She tried therapy. Tried dating. Tried pretending she could start over. But every step forward brought her back to the moment everything fell apart. And the worst part, she said, was realizing that while I was chasing something new, I destroyed something irreplaceable. And only after losing you did I realize how deeply I had been loved, even if imperfectly. Nathan didn't move. But something in his eyes softened, just a fraction. Blink maybe. I know I don't have the right to ask for anything, Aaron said. But if there's any part of you that's still... No, Nathan said quietly but firmly. There's not. His voice was calm, peaceful. Final answer, not a harsh one. She blinked rapidly, trying not to cry. Can't we at least try again? He shook his head gently. Some endings stay endings, Aaron. Even if the heart once wanted more. I've spent 5 years learning how to live again. Learning that forgiveness is possible, but forgetting isn't. I wish you peace. Truly do. But not with me. She lowered her gaze, tears finally falling. I understand, she whispered. I really do. They stood at the same time. She adjusted her bag on her shoulder, looked at him with aching regret and said, I'm sorry, Nathan. For all of it. He offered a quiet nod. Goodbye, Aaron. She turned and walked out the way she had entered, slowly, like someone carrying the weight of every wrong turn they'd taken. Nathan stood still for a while, his eyes returning to the window. Then he pulled out his wallet, paid the bill, and stepped into the cool afternoon air. The sky had begun to clear. As he crossed the street toward the parking lot, a familiar voice called his name. Nathan. He turned and smiled, genuinely this time, as Camille approached. She wrapped her arms around him, warm and reassuring. Camille had come into his life 2 years ago at a literature seminar. An unexpected encounter at a time he wasn't sure love was still something he could feel. She too had lost someone. Her husband to a tragic accident. And like Nathan, she had lived in the cautious territory between grief and healing. They bonded slowly, through books, long walks, shared silences. What began as quiet companionship evolved into something more. Something steady and kind. How did it go? She asked gently, not prying, just present. It was necessary, Nathan said. But it's done. My life is here now. With you. She smiled, lacing her fingers with his. They drove to their favorite bistro, the one with the mismatched chairs and the garden view. Over dinner, Camille spoke about the novel she was reading. Nathan listened, laughed, and leaned in to kiss her hand. Later that evening, they strolled through the park, arms linked. The past no longer haunted him. It had become a closed book, stored on the shelf but no longer opened. Camille stopped near the bench they always liked and asked with a shy smile, Do you still want to set the wedding date for next month? Nathan grinned. Yes. Let's do it. And so, with no drama and no grand declarations, life quietly continued. One step forward, hand in hand, toward a future finally free of ghosts.